Namaste, Namaskaram, Vanikam, Namo Namaha, Jai Ganesha. Please visit our website at classicalyoga.org, and there is a donate button if you'd like to help us out. Prakriti, Purusha. If we look to Mahaganapati, the first deity that all Hindus beseech, we classically see him generally sitting with one foot down and one foot up. We can notice this with our other devas and devis also. So one of the symbolisms of this is keeping one foot in the material, the external world, but also keeping the other foot tucked up into the spirit world, if you will. We call this the Atmana, the internal world. This is a good balance. If we keep both feet in the material world, in what we call Prakriti, there are some positives to that. The positives are that we take care of the material world, we take care of our fellow human beings, take care of ourselves, make sure we're well provided for. But there can be negatives to that, if we keep both feet, so to speak, in the material world, the external, is that we can often get stuck in things, get stuck in materialism, get stuck in thinking we are just a body, a mind, an emotion, with all the ensuing stress that can come from such an attitude. If on the other foot, so to speak, if we keep both feet up in the internal world, into the spirit realm, if you will, a positive there is that we obviously then do not get stuck in the material world. Material possessions don't become an obsession. We also don't get stuck in a total identity with our body, mind, and emotions. However, there can be a negative to this in not taking care of the outer, avoiding responsibilities, not taking care of our fellow human beings. If we look at religion in general, it's about relinking religio, getting our act together, so to speak, our body, mind, emotions, the material world, and importantly, the spirit world. This is why a mature individual will always see religion and spirituality going together. Religious rules, regulations, rituals, scriptures are all a very important part. But if we deny the intrinsic spiritual part, we are out of balance. Conversely, if we think we are spiritual, but not religious, if we avoid the outer rituals, rules, regulations of life, we too are out of balance. Just like one foot down and one foot up, Prakriti and Purusha, material and spiritual, religion and spirituality truly go together. Of course, there may be a time, and times in your life, when you can bring both feet up and enter into a transcendent inner experience, always remembering that the word transcendent or transcendental means to climb. It should never be confused with transvalue, which means to skip over. If we wish to climb to the top of a mountain, we have to start at the bottom. You know the cliche, the saying, if you want to be a top banana, you have to start at the bottom of the bunch. Now, if you look at a basic life formula, we use the acronym EDME, or EDME, ethics, devotion, meditation, enlightenment. With a little reflection, this is a basic life journey as we seek first and foremost to do the right thing, to follow the rules, the regulations, the rituals, to be ethical. And then whatever we choose in life, whether it be a relationship, a job, a religion, be fully devoted to that. Then remember, the word meditation simply means to concentrate. So this is a further development of your devotion, be more concentrated or meditative. And if we keep doing this process, being ethical, devoted, concentrated, meditative, we will get the ongoing experience of enlightenment. In other words, we feel more light, we have more inner epiphanies, if you will. EDME, ethics, devotion, meditation, enlightenment. This provides a complete transcendental process of climbing, starting with ethics, devotion, meditation, to enlightenment. Now, this is a life pattern we can use in general in all of life. If we look to the religions of the world, we can clearly see these 4 steps. All religions have their ethical codes of conduct. They have their devotions, which they're most recognized by. Because devotion is about our feeling nature also, which is paramount to all of us. Just think about the first thing you wake up in the morning. Whether you say it to yourself or not, you're wondering how you feel. Does my back hurt? Do my legs hurt? My knees hurt? And when we greet someone, how are you? We're basically asking them how they feel. Feeling is the vital ingredient of life, the secret sauce, if you will, devotion. And all religions are noted by them. However, remember that ethics comes prior to devotion. Why? Precisely, we can be devoted to the wrong thing for decades. This is why true devotion must be predicated upon ethics. Fully understanding this, and this basic life formula, we can see how these 4 steps are played out in the various religions of the world to be respected for their specific terminology. For example, in the Hindu yoga dharma, Hinduism, the Hindu religion, we term these 4 steps karma yoga, Hindu ethics, bhakti yoga, Hindu devotions, Raja Yoga, Hindu meditations or contemplations, which is a better English word, to go within the temple, contemplum. 2, Jnana Yoga, or the ongoing state of enlightenment, Karma, Bhakti, Raja, Jnana. Now, for the sake of discussion, we'll use the broad terms Western and Eastern. Of course, they can be very elusive because what does Western mean? Does that mean America? Does that mean Europe? When in fact Western religions began in the Middle East. But we know what we mean when we're talking about Western. We're talking about basically the monotheistic traditions, Judaism, Christianity, Islam. And when we talk about Eastern, obviously we're talking about Hinduism, Taoism, Shinto, Confucianism. Of course, never to disrespect the many indigenous traditions around the world, and just because they're not as popular or as well populated does not mean they are any less profound. Never forget that the Aboriginals from Australia have had an ongoing culture for some 40,000 years. And again, to generalize, because remember, it doesn't matter if we follow a quote-unquote Western or Eastern religion, they're made up of individuals who have various mindsets. So you could have very profound and less profound people found in all these different traditions. But generally speaking, when people refer to Western religions, the monotheistic religions, generally there's a focus on the external. There's great concern for one's fellow human beings. Certainly within their chosen religions, of course, but to take Christianity, for example, in the present day, it hasn't always been this way, but in the present day, Christians are very noted for helping their fellow human beings in the Protestant work ethic. Catholic charities, feeding people, clothing people, and often regardless of whether they're a Catholic or not, just giving out free food. When the pandemic first struck, all the Catholic churches were giving out free food. What a wonderful thing. Free clothing. These are the basics of ethics and devotion to one's fellow human beings. On the other hand, or foot, if we look to the quote-unquote Eastern religions, and we'll focus on the Hindu Dharma, they're often seen as more internal, focusing on Raja Yoga, meditation if you will. We don't want to confuse this with the general term. Raja Yoga, renunciation, deep meditation, with often a neglect for the outer world itself. The various techniques of so-called yoga in the West are an overemphasis on these internal areas of Hindu Dharma, which many are using perhaps as an escape or just as a fulfillment of what they could not find perhaps in their Western religions that focused solely on the outer and not much on the inner contemplations. However, a little reflection shows that a balanced life is having all four of these processes going on, always logically starting with having an ethical foundation and being devoted to oneself and one's fellow human beings, never denying that. It's so sad what's happened in India, where you'll see deep meditators and ashrams and people going there to have these inner experiences and then completely ignoring the poor people in the street. This is a travesty. On the other hand, there's a great dissatisfaction with Western religions, if you will, because they do not have these intrinsic inner experiences that are so well mapped out within the Hindu yoga dharma. So obviously we need to strike a balance here. This is why this formula is so effective. Be ethical, be devoted, be concentrated, meditative, keep repeating the process, and one's life will be a relative success. EDME. Again, to Hindus, this would be Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, Gyan Yoga. To be respected for the outer practices. Christians, for example, would have their ethical codes of conduct, their 10 Commandments, which they quote-unquote borrowed from the Jewish people. They have their devotions to Jesus, they have their homilies, their prayers, their Mass, the Eucharist. And then it's up to individuals to have their own internal meditations, which they generally do not go too much in depth with. But so too for all the Hindus who are into Raja Yoga and deep meditation and techniques and various aspects of Hatha Yoga, etc. If we don't predicate this upon a profound sense of Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, how we treat our fellow human beings, how we treat our fellow Hindus, and our devotions and rituals, we're living an out-of-balance life. So remember, just like Ganesha is showing us, by this simple act of sitting with one foot down and one foot up, strive for this 50-50 balance in life. One foot in the material, the external world, taking care of ourselves, taking care of others, taking care of our religion, taking care of our dharma. But keep the other foot tucked up into the spirit, which avoids us getting stuck in the outer, stuck in fully identifying as a body, mind, and emotion, which causes the resultant stress. So there is great wisdom in taking life seriously. Ethics, devotion, rituals, rules, regulations, and rituals, but not too seriously. Transcend also into the internal world. For if we get too internally motivated, life will give us pain. It will give us sorrow. Force us into taking care of the material world, taking care of the body and the mind and the emotions. And so too, when we do get stuck in the body, the mind, the emotions, and the various problems, some serious problems that we go through in any one lifetime or another, this is when we all need to take a step back and realize from that perspective how insignificant really we are and our life is from that point of view. Taking life seriously, but not too seriously. Just reflect for a moment on your individual problems, as serious as they may be. You are one person among billions of people, among all those people that have lived on Earth. And remember that we humans haven't even been around that long. Just take a step back. Take a grander perspective of life itself. Dinosaurs lived 65 million years ago. And they lived for 165 million years. And there was life before that. This tiny Earth, which it truly is about 4 billion years old. Our universe, which is one of many, is about 14 billion years. So when we start to get these larger perspectives, it puts all of our problems, serious as they are, and we need to handle them for sure, it puts them into perspective. From that perspective, our little life that we're going through right now is about as significant as one single grain of sand on one single plot of a beach. So in this way, we can gain a greater perspective when we're going through serious problems, not to be ignored, right? We take them seriously, but not that seriously that they cause us intense stress and sleepless nights. It's not easy. We all have to go through it. But just remember, all those people that have lived and died. This is why Shiva in Hinduism often is seen meditating in the cremation grounds. Go into a cemetery sometime and look at all those headstones. And each of those headstones, maybe some are real tiny, represents an individual life of maybe 50, 60, 70, 80 years of a single person who had hundreds, perhaps thousands of contacts with other people, and now it's all gone. So in this way, when the pressures of life seem overwhelming to us, we can get a much larger perspective, an internal perspective. This is the wisdom of living a balanced life, of both material and spiritual, if you will, Prakriti and Purusha. Remembering always that when we leave this planet Earth, as a soul body, to move on into our next experiences, when we die, so to speak, we don't take anybody with us. We don't take any of these problems with us. We don't take any of the joy. We don't take any of the sorrow as we move on. So take life seriously, but not too seriously. Be grounded in the material world, but keep the other foot up into the spiritual world and work together. We're all in this together as human beings, trying to religio, to relink, dharma, dri, to hold, yoke, yoga, huge yoke, to yoke ourselves together and understand why this life process. And seek the inner joy that is there of the Atmana. I know it's hard when we're suffering, but it is there. That's why we say Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham. I am the soul of knowledge and bliss. I am Shiva, I am Shiva. Shiva in this case means auspicious. You and I, we are all that auspicious soul of knowledge and bliss, of Satchit Ananda, of love and light and energy. Om, this are we, with emotions, mind, and body. Have a wonderful day. Peace, peace, peace. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And furthermore, just always remind yourself when you're going through a real drama in life, when you're really suffering, you're having pains, physical, mental, emotional pains, realize that we all go through these things in one life or another. Have compassion for yourself. Have compassion for others. And realize in a very unselfish way that those outer experiences are, important as they are, not the ultimate you. We are that inner soul of love and light and energy. We all have to realize this, seeing through the pain and the sorrow and the drama that while we're going through it, it seems unending, but it's very temporary. Remember, gaining the wider perspective of life, of the universe itself. It's like a snap of the finger. All these experiences driving us into the full realization that we are this soul of knowledge and bliss. And then coming out of that in our daily activities, be grateful, be thankful. Be thankful for the life lessons that everyone goes through. Nobody gets a free pass in one life or another. We all have all the joys and all the sorrows and all the suffering. And in the end, it's like a snap of the finger, all those intense experiences that seem unending. They come, they go. So while we're out in this material world, we be grateful, we be thankful. And we use our willpower and exercise persistence. This is our inner compass. Gratitude and persistence. Being steadfast in hardship. And then seek out to help others that are perhaps going through these same experiences. And we know through compassion, having been there, done that. So we serve our fellow human beings, which automatically puts less focus on our own problems and more on the problems of someone else. We go to our temples, our ashrams, and we bow and we are, in a sense, a very real sense, not thinking so much about ourselves, but we're thinking about others, which helps us get over these intense dramas. Being grateful, persistent, sacrifice. Remember, you can't change somebody else. We can only change our own attitude and how we perceive them. You are not here to be the slave to someone else's problems. If they want help, fine. And if they don't want help, then they need to resolve the issues within their own self. You are not responsible for their enlightenment. Each of us are responsible for our own situation. Our own realization of Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art. Of Chidananda Rupa, I am the soul of knowledge and bliss. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.